Major funding for this program provided by the Moving Image Trust Fund. Additional funding for this program provided by the Arkansas Agriculture Department.
Hello, I'm Tony Brooks, and this is Agri Arkansas. Agriculture in Arkansas is a study of contrast. There is a contrast between the dirt and the soil in the field and the sterilized lab settings that are responsible for advancing the science of agriculture. Geographically, it can be said that our state is unique in its contrast. With hills, mountains, valleys, the delta, and coastal plains, our geography creates a complex environment for agriculture. Then there is the contrast of scale. Our state's agriculture consists of some very large operations, and some are very small, with urban plots and things like backyard chickens increasing in numbers. It seems that every year the local movement grows and communities are brought closer together through agriculture. This is the type of diversity we'd like to bring you with Agri Arkansas. We want you to be introduced to where your food comes from, and we want to celebrate one of the most far-reaching economic forces in our state. So let's get started now with an overview of agriculture in Arkansas. After all, it's right outside your front door.
Arkansas has always been an agricultural state, a rural state over the years. And back 100 years ago, we were really rural. Almost everybody lived on a farm or had ties to the farm and the small communities around the state.
If you go back to the territorial days and the time that 90% of our population was engaged in agriculture to the evolution that we find today, agriculture is still a tremendous contributor to the state's economy and well-being in the state.
Agriculture has always been a very important part of Arkansas.
Agriculture contributes about 17% of the gross state product. That comes from the production of the agricultural food and forestry products to the processing, the transportation. Overall contribution is about $17 billion to the state's economy.
The agricultural industry in Arkansas creates about a sixth of the jobs in the state. Over 260,000 people employed by agriculture.
Agriculture has an impact on the economy of all 75 of our counties.
Arkansas is a wonderful place to grow crops and livestock both.
We're blessed with a lot of water resources. We're blessed in many parts of the state with very good soil. We have a very adequate growing season. But the other component that I would put in is really the entrepreneur spirit and the human capital that we bring.
The people that are doing the agriculture industry here in Arkansas, the farmers and the people that they work with, they have a very strong work ethic. Time, doesn't mean anything when you're putting in a crop. You get out early, you stay late. If you're growing livestock on a cold, wintry day, you don't sit by the fire, you get out and tend to your livestock. It's a lot of work that a lot of people wouldn't want to do. And we're very fortunate here in Arkansas. It takes a lot of support, it raises a lot of money, it feeds a lot of people.
Our major crops from an income standpoint are the poultry sector, recently soybeans, rice, and historically cotton have been the big ones.
Cotton has been a part of our heritage ever since way before we became a state in 1836.
Historically, a very key contributor to the state's economy.
A lot of people don't realize it, but cotton was grown in all 75 counties in this state.
Rice has been very, very important to Arkansas agriculture.
It's just phenomenal what the rice industry has done.
Rice is very much a staple worldwide. The international rice markets are very, very important to our farmers because we export such a large percentage of it.
We have about 1.2 million acres in rice. And you take that, compare that with 300,000 acres of cotton and 3 million acres of soybeans. Soybeans is the most acreage in the state for the row crop. Soybeans is a crop that's been grown in Arkansas since probably the late 1940s. It's kind of blossomed into the 50s, and over the years, it's called the miracle bean. There's so many different things that you don't realize what soybeans go into, making of plastics and all sorts of things.
A good share of the soybeans go into meal as a livestock feed. The oil is a cooking oil that goes in.
Soybeans is just something that it don't seem like the world can get enough of.
In the last 40, 50 years, we've also seen the emergence of the poultry industry.
We've seen the poultry industry blossom from little of nothing to a major player in the world market.
We've gone from kind of the chickens that have been running around the farmyard there to a fairly modern, very sophisticated production system. Most of our major commodities are in global marketplaces, both within the state and nationally. Agriculture is very, very key into our export markets. It helps tremendously with our trade balances at both the state and the national level. Our ag exports tend to be about $3.5 billion a year. Up to 75 or 80% of our rice crop is normally exported, about half of our soybean crop, and right now about 90% of our cotton is exported out of the country.
Arkansas is such a diverse state, something that most people don't realize how much a difference there is in the state, from the Delta to the mountains to the Gulf Coastal Plain. The southern part of Arkansas is Gulf Coastal Plain, and it is excellent for growing timber. So that's where our pine industry is mostly in the southern part of the state. It's some in the north. The western part of the state is migrated to the poultry business and to the cattle business. Acres that used to be tried to be row crop are now got poultry houses and cattle farms on them. And in the eastern part of the state, in the Delta and the river bottoms, we're still growing the row crops, where we have the fertile, deep soil that's just conducive to growing good crops.
You know, as I look at the future of agriculture within the state, there's lots of reason to be very excited about where we're headed with it.
In the next 50 years, I think Arkansas is going to continue to grow. As the world population grows, each farmer is going to have to feed more and more people.
We're going to have to increase our overall food supply by about 70%. We're going to have to really increase the productivity by about twofold from what we've had in the last several decades to be able to reach that. And so efficiency is extremely important. With some of our commodities, not all, there are some economies of size. Those economies of size are leading to larger and larger farm operations as they try to operate primarily in the commodity markets that we have. The sophistication of the technology that's used is greatly increasing. There's greater demand for skilled labor. Sustainability is something that's of great concern to the agricultural sector as they look at their responsibilities to produce a safe, nutritious, and affordable food supply. At the same time, we have another development that's going on. In the state of Arkansas, we've seen a tremendous growth in our farmers market and the direct sales and the opportunities for farmers to be selling right to the consumers that they're trying to provide to.
You don't have to go very far anywhere in Arkansas till you're in farming country, where you can see things being grown.
Agriculture is a very complex but necessary business. We say that everybody that eats will count as part of agriculture, but what's good for Arkansas agriculture is good for the state of Arkansas.
$17 billion, 13.5 million acres of farmland with nearly 48,000 farming operations. Now, these are numbers that we may not think about as we drive by the carefully laid out fields in the Delta or the numerous chicken houses throughout the state. About 40% of Arkansas's total land mass is dedicated to farming. Coming up shortly, we're going to sit down with Arkansas Secretary of Agriculture Butch Calhoun and talk more about the impact of agriculture on our state. But first, the Delta of Arkansas has seen its share of challenges. Some people in the town of DeWitt, including the mayor and the state representative, feel they may have found a new way to meet some of those challenges in the form of a winter row crop called Camelina. They're calling it farm to fuel.
Is this going to be a risky thing? Yes, it is. But all the easy things have already been done. We've got to go a step further and step out on faith and see if we can't find something that might work.
In conjunction with Alt Consulting and with the city of DeWitt, we are starting a biodiesel facility in DeWitt, and our plans are to run it with a combination of waste vegetable oil and with Camelina seed oil. The Camelina, what it brings to the table is the cloud point. It has a 0 degree Fahrenheit cloud point, and mixed with the waste vegetable oil diesel gives us a product that will stand and you can use in colder temperatures.
The main challenge of using Camelina as a feedstock for biodiesel is that it's a new crop for the Delta. It's originally grown in Europe and most recently has been grown in the Northwest in a more arid climate. And so being able to produce it in the Delta to a yield that would be effective and successful to produce biodiesel, that's the main challenge that we're having right now.
This crop doesn't compete with soybeans or rice or corn. This product is Camelina is planted in the fall typically, and then harvested in the month of May, with plenty of time then for the farmer to come back in and double crop soybeans behind it.
It also is an excellent oil seed that produces a high quality oil for biodiesel with a very low cloud point down to 0 degrees.
We have a problem using like soybean oil. That's the most common one that's been tried. In the wintertime, you have a gel factor. The soybean oil will start gelling at around a little above freezing. Camelina will go on down to close to 0 before it starts gelling. The crop, it can be planted basically in late October or November, and then grow through the winter and be harvested before time to plant soybeans. So it doesn't interfere with soybean production to cause delay in planting of that. It is not a food competitor because it's hard to process for human consumption.
The Camelina doesn't need irrigation, and that's one of the reasons that we're trying it too, because we don't need to irrigate it.
So we've defined success pretty clearly. We want a micro refinery in 25 different communities. We want about 100,000 acres of Camelina grown every winter. We want waste vegetable oil from Arkansas to be refined. And then we've already gotten interest from Tennessee, from a number of legislators there actually, from Mississippi, from Alabama. They're going to send a group up here to study this model. So for us, this is really a new economy throughout the South. But our hope is that with 25 refineries on the ground, we can reach a scale where we can basically run one transporter daily that will then supply folks like the blenders either in Little Rock or in Memphis in terms of the large-scale demand, while also supplying the local demand like the city of DeWitt for their diesel trucks.
Run all of the city vehicles, the county vehicles, the schools district. We have one of the largest bus route in the DeWitt School District, is one of the largest ones in the state. So we have a big demand for diesel there. So hopefully when our continuous flow refinery gets set up, we'll be able to supply all of those needs.
The best case scenario that I see is that we can get this production up to a 3,000 to 4,000 pound per acre. If we could get that consistently, then I think we have a crop here that the farmers would be interested in growing. It will make them money. What I would like to see is farmers be able to bring this in, this be converted into biodiesel, and then they buy it back and burn it on their farms.
Well, it'll have to be profitable. I mean, you're going to have to be looking at being able, if it's in that 40 to 42 cent range per pound, you got to look at how much you're going to make, and then how much per pound you're going to get for it, how far you have to carry it. Right now we're looking at a local crusher, and so that will help. But if we had to haul it, like for instance, sesame is another, minor crop that we're looking at, it's got to go to Oklahoma. Well, then your freight gets into it. So if we can make the Camelina work at a local level, then that would be better.
When this idea came along, and the first thing I think you think about is, well, that's not going to work because it had never worked anyplace else. That's what you got to look for. When Sam Walter started Walmart, I said, well, that's not going to work. That's been tried before. They've done this. And think of all the, on the TV now, you see these commercials about all these industries and big businesses that start in garages. And that's about what we got here right now. We just got a souped up garage here.
It's something that's going to be a really high growth product because there are many industries that's looking to use biodiesel as an alternative fuel as opposed to petroleum. So we're at the beginning stages of this particular industry. So I'm glad to get in on the ground floor.
Somebody's got to try it. There wasn't any rice here. In 1906, somebody tried rice. In 1950s, somebody tried soybeans. Well, somebody's got to try this too.
So, will Camelina be a new cash crop for the Delta? Only time and economics will tell, and we'll be watching. In the meantime, Tammy Hornbeck of All Consulting will be joining us later to tell us more about the Farm to Fuel initiative. But right now, we'd like to focus on your backyard, urban farming, and backyard chickens.
So my name is Bo Bennett. I'm the Farmers Market Coordinator for the Bernice Garden Farmers Market. I own and operate Garden Press Juice Company, and I'm an avid organic and heirloom gardener here in the city. We're right at the corner of Florida and Missouri Street, the heart of Little Rock, and I've got chickens. I've got two of them. One's a black Australorp, the other one is a Araucana. I get 2 eggs a day, and it's pretty sweet. Well, the easiest way to get started is to probably first contact your extension service, kind of learn about the regulations and rules regarding backyard poultry here in the city. And then from there you can contact online groups like forums. There's also a lot of chicken clubs here in the city too, but I would definitely recommend going onto Facebook and looking up this group called Central Arkansas New Agrarian Society. It's a group that has there's a lot of brainstorming and has a lot of DIY projects about backyard poultry, as well as gardening and growing food here in the city. Upkeep's pretty simple. I probably spend about 5 to 10 minutes every morning feeding them, watering them. When I'm out here in the garden, I let them loose, and they just graze my yard. They eat all the insects and provide me a good service as a gardener. They turn my compost and all kinds of fun stuff that I'd rather not do. But also, you probably would spend 1 hour every week cleaning out their cage, replacing their bedding and all that. But they're actually really low upkeep. So I get about 2 eggs a day. Small brown egg from the Americana. The black Australorp lays a nice big fat creamy white egg. The yolks are delicious. They're full of color and flavor and much richer than you would find anywhere in a supermarket. So that's one of the great things about backyard chickens is it gives you a really intense culinary experience that you really can't find out there just buying food from supermarkets. Well, if someone was thinking about getting backyard chickens, I would tell them to not only just think about it, but to really consider it. Measure out their yard, figure out how much space they have, and start the conversation. Because once they get into it, they'll find that it's very easy. And a lot of people are scared of the initial commitment, and they don't understand how low maintenance chickens can be, especially if you just have like 2 or 3 in your backyard. And it's not like we're not like talking about having like a barn back here and having a massive every morning at 6 a.m. there's a big rooster call, and these are actually quiet. They're relatively quiet, and they're very friendly and very compatible with living in a city. Personally, it gives me a lot of fulfillment with just knowing that I can that I can eat my own eggs, and it's very empowering as far as a gardener to produce your own proteins as well as your own produce.
There are certainly farms of all sizes here in Arkansas, and there's a lot of thinking outside the box here too. Joining us now is Arkansas Secretary of Agriculture Butch Calhoun and Tammy Hornbeck with Alt Consulting. Welcome to both of you. Secretary Calhoun, let's start with you. Agriculture in Arkansas impacts about everyone in the state in some way, does it not?
That's exactly right. It's one of the biggest industries in the state, and if you look around most families, there's somebody that can go back one to most 2 generations where they have somebody involved on the farms, and so it's very close to us here in the state.
I'd like to comment in the piece that said that everyone that eats is a part of agriculture, and that's true not only just here in Arkansas, but when we talk about agriculture as a key to our global market, what are some of the products that we export most, and what are some of our major partners for exporting agriculture products?
Well, we have lots of partners around the world that we export products to, and I'm signing off pretty regular on certificates where we're sending poultry overseas. And of course, wheat some wheat goes overseas, but soybeans is a big mover, and also about 75 or 80% of our rice goes overseas. So we have a lot at stake in world politics as things going around the world, people that we trade with and work with on a monthly, weekly basis.
Excellent. I know one project you've been working on that you're quite proud of is the Arkansas Grown Initiative. I know it's a big initiative. Can you tell me just a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's something, Tony, that I'm very proud of that we at the Agriculture Department have gotten involved in. It was started a few years ago. It's called Arkansas Grown. And we've kind of tried to step it up the last year and working with lots of other people outside. We've got over 500 people signed up. We're working on farm to school programs. We're working on farm to food programs and things where people can buy locally grown, and a lot of the restaurants are wanting to use locally grown. People are so more conscious now of what they're putting in their mouths, and I think it's going to be a big plus for our producers. Not everybody can grow 1,000 acres of soybeans or 1,000 acres of rice. We've got some people, it's going to fit in real well. We've got some people who are being very good at this, and we're getting some good products out. Right now, Subway, give you an example, Subway is using, in Arkansas and some of the areas around our surrounding states are using all Arkansas tomatoes. And so we're pretty proud of that. If you walk into a Subway, you'll probably see an Arkansas Grown label on their door.
Nothing like an Arkansas tomato.
That's right.
Tammy, let's turn to you for just a moment. The Farm to Fuel project shows tremendous promise. Does fuel produced with Camelina require any adaptation of the vehicles as opposed to burning just regular petroleum diesel?
No, it does not. In fact, you can be blended at any percentage. It'll anywhere from a B5 to B100 is usually the blending, and it'll the number after the B is the blend, but it can go right into your engine just like regular petroleum diesel can. The main issue you may have is cleaning your fuel filter, because it will clean your engine.
Okay. Certainly this may change what I'm going to ask you depending upon the production levels, but how does the cost per gallon of fuel produced in this method compare with the cost of regular production of the fuels that we were accustomed to?
Well, it will not be necessarily a lower priced fuel, because we're trying to keep the wealth circulating within the community. But with the Camelina and the waste vegetable oil being grown and produced locally and sourced locally, that will be able to keep costs down as far as sourcing those feedstocks for the fuel. So it should be comparatively priced, but a lot of the wealth will be circulated within the community instead of going out.
Now, the oil that you use in addition to the Camelina, that's used at restaurants, the byproduct of that. So that's providing service to them as well, because what would they traditionally do with that oil?
A lot of it ends up in our sewage systems and in the ditch. And the city will attest to this, that about 3/4 of their cleanup cost and problems with their sewage systems are with waste vegetable oil being dumped into the drains. And so that will help up with sewage cleanup cost as well as provide a service for these restaurants.
So we're talking about something, that would be discarded, but we're putting it to practical use and
gaining value from it.
Exactly. The segment we saw talked about the impact of shipping costs for processing grains like sesame. I believe, to Oklahoma, current where they're sending it. Do you see the processing capacity growing here in Arkansas in centers like DeWitt to be able to keep up with demand for this particular product?
Well, the demand is definitely there because as you test in the piece, Inez said that we already have interest with Valero and some regional players that will take all that we can produce, but we want to start in the community with the local community being able to utilize the fuel. And farmers are one of the #1 users of diesel in the Delta region. So I don't know if we'll be able to keep up with demand, but we're certainly going to try. And I think once the Camelina comes on board, we'll be able to produce that at a level and with the waste vegetable oil collection. And then we can also bring on other oilseed crops to integrate into the program.
This is certainly something that's extremely exciting. Butch, we visited with this years ago. The diversity. Did you ever dream that we'd be sitting around a table like this talking about this? This is what's needed in Arkansas for people to understand where their food comes from, but also that there's so much research going on in your department and others.
New things are happening all the time, and I want to commend on what Tammy and them are doing with this. I'm real happy for them, real excited about it. We have some farmers around that are using some blended fuels right now, and it's working out real well for them. And I think it's the future. We don't need to be dependent on foreign oil forever, and this is a way that we can grow our own. I'm pretty excited about what they're doing.
Well, I appreciate both of you coming on the show. Thank you so much, Tammy and Butch, for being here today. That's all the time we have for now, but we look forward to seeing you next time here on Agri Arkansas.
Major funding for this program provided by the Moving Image Trust Fund. Additional funding for this program provided by the Arkansas Agriculture Department.